Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to do a video which is looking at each nation and giving you one pick for each of the ground, aviation and naval side of things to at least have a look at when trying to decide what to buy for GE vehicles. If you want some more in-depth looks at each of the nation's vehicles, on the anniversary sale about a month ago I did a video on pretty much every nation. I'll link to a playlist down below so you can basically just go watch them if you are interested. I go through all of the premium vehicles and the main picks that I'll go for. Also, at the same time, if you're interested in picking up anything off the Gaijin store, including GE, if you could use my affiliate code, you can get 3% discount off on items which are already not discounted, and also you can get this in-game, the wonderful decal. Which I think is beautiful. Remember, at the same time, that premium time at this moment is on sale. It's 50% off. This is easily the best thing to pick up in War Thunder. There is nothing better than it because it gives you all of these wonderful things which affect everything in the game. So if you pick up a premium vehicle, it only affects one tech tree. Premium account literally affects everything. So make sure to pick it up and make sure to get it done. So let's get into America. With America, the first one would be the Black Cat. The reason why is because this one's pretty cheap. It's also incredibly fun to play at 50% off. The 5.7 lineup for America is really good. The only issue it has is if it gets fully up-tiered, and generally if that's the case, then you should have some heavy brothers on your side to be able to help you out. And you can still use this as a fast scout. Artillery is a bit annoying in it, especially after the overpressure changes, but generally it's still a very fun vehicle. It's part of one of the lineups that I use when it comes to the Operation Winter event, which is the Black Cat, the Hellcat, and the 76 Sherman, plus the planes, and generally it just feels really nice to play. So it's got a good gun on it, the 76, it has access to scouting, which means that it can get into planes quicker. It has access to artillery nowadays, it has the M62 shell, it also has a 50 cal to do with lighter targets. It is a very versatile vehicle. The only thing I suppose it lacks is smoke launchers, which would be nice, but unfortunately it doesn't have it. And as I said, it fits in a super good lineup at 5.7. You know, it's not as good as the 5.3 lineup that America has, but you can throw in all of these vehicles if you want into the lineup. They're still going to work very well. Also, it being a rank 3, it's going to be able to research rank 4 and below pretty efficiently, and has a really good RP reward on it for the tier. There's a few higher vehicles which are much more situational and fun, but as I said, if you want to learn about them, you can have a look at the other videos that I did. When it comes to the naval stuff, coastal fleets, there's only really one pick, and that is the Elco 80-footer Thunderbolt. This thing is basically part of what I call the Crackerjack lineup. This is the one that I use every time for the naval events, and it is high firepower, high speed, and high fun. You can see that I've been very lucrative using this lineup with all the decorations that I have on this machine, and pretty much what the Thunderbolt is, it's a PT boat which is similar to the other 3.0s. The major difference, it doesn't have a 40 on it, no Bofors, but it has this quad 20mm on the back. So if you get within 1.5 kilometers or even 2 kilometers of an enemy, you will just shred them with this. So what you do is you go near the enemy, then you turn around, and just let this thing fire while running away. It works amazingly. It's a fantastic vehicle for it, and part of a really fun lineup that you can use for Operation Winter and also for other events as well, because it gets the Hellcat with the torpedo, so you can sink destroyers when they're around, and also you get the other 2 PT boats which also complement the Thunderbolt really well. So it's just a fantastic time, definitely worth it. If it comes to the blue water stuff, the Helena is the pick, just because it has a really good reward on it, and also is a pretty fun vehicle. You just sit there and keep firing over and over again. Obviously you're completely useless against battleships, but welcome to naval. That's generally what happens. This one will stand a slightly better chance against battleships than others, just because of the fire rate on its guns. Aviation-wise, the XP50 always comes to mind when it comes to these types of vehicles. The XP50 has an incredible climb rate. It has a really good set of guns. The SL rewards on it are pretty poor, but it's just a vehicle that's really flexible. You can kind of do whatever you want in this thing. It's always going to put you into a power position at the start of the game, kind of like what the XP55 does. The Ascender is also really good, but at the same time, it's a little bit higher BR, so that's a bit of an issue. But yeah, this vehicle is fantastic. Definitely would recommend it, but it is only useful in air realistic, so that's one of the downsides of it. If you want a vehicle which is way more multi-role, the one to go for is the A2D. The A2D at 50% off means that you can use it for bombing, you can use it for shooting, you can use it for pretty much anything. There's a reason why this thing keeps going up and up and up and up in BR, and it's because it's just really strong. I just need to switch over from arcade here, just so all the stats are right. Just to show you the XP50 for realistic, it's 444735, so it does have a really good SL reward. Sorry, I apologize about that. The BTD is also pretty good, but we talked about that in the other video. The A2D is the one to pick though, with really good rewards, especially the RP rewards. It has absolutely awesome amounts of bombs as well. This is useful in ground, this is useful in air, and eventually it'll be useful in naval as well. It has good speed, good guns, good bomb load, and also at the same time can be used as a pseudo fighter, just not as good as some other machines. This is a really nice pick if you just want to grind out RP and SL. When it comes to Germany, I think generally there are some very good picks overall. There's a ton of different lineups which are super fun, and one of them is, of course, the 73701, which is about the RU-251, is definitely one to have a look at for this. It's an incredibly good light tank. The 90mm Heat FS does a ton of penetration, sometimes doesn't do great damage though, so that's a bit of a problem, but you can see it has good penetration, and if you aim your shots well, it's going to do really well. Also has scouting, artillery, all of the stuff, smoke grenades, which is really nice. It's just a fantastically fast vehicle that can get you into trouble and out of trouble very quickly, and also you can run it at not just 7.0 but also 7.3 if you want, because you have a pretty stellar lineup nowadays when it comes to Germany. They've added a ton of different vehicles which are incredibly fun for it. The other one is the KV-1C. The KV-1C at 5.0 doesn't really have a lineup around it anymore. You know, you can still run 4.7s with it and stuff, but it's a little bit of a tougher pick because of its BR change, but I think overall it's still a pretty good vehicle. The 75 is very strong, the armor is still very strong. You just got to watch out for up tiers into the 6.0 bracket where it can get bullied, but apart from that, it's alright. So yeah, I would consider this, but understand that because of its BR, it's in a lot rougher of a place now. For aviation, there's a few picks as well. P47 isn't a bad one, but the main one to pick is the G91R4. This one is rank 5, so it's going to be able to research efficiently everything in the tech tree apart from 3 vehicles that you see here. So with that said, it is definitely worth picking up. Has really good RP, really good SL rewards, has access to AIM-9Bs at 8.7, which is not usual for a lot of vehicles at that BR. It also gets access to Nords, which are still very powerful even after the nerf, and with Germany 879093 being so strong in ground, this thing could be used in aviation or ground. Really depends on what you feel like. This is a fantastic vehicle. It has been amazingly good for the longest time, definitely worth picking up, and I doubt it'll ever go up in BR, because if it would have, they would have pushed it up anyway. It also prints SL. As you can see, its max repair cost is tiny compared to its rewards, because people keep dying in it. So when it comes to naval stuff, there isn't really any good options in my opinion. The VS8 is kind of interesting. If the M802 is a GE vehicle, I don't know if it is or not, this is definitely worth considering because it has a destroyer DM basically and goes mainly up against PT boats, and it has 105s and it overpressures them. So definitely worth having a look at in general if you are interested in that. The blue water stuff, I would wait for a pack and pick up the Eugen basically. That's the one to go for there. For the Soviets, there's not a ton of really good picks for GE vehicles when it comes to ground forces, but there are some fun ones. The first one is the T-126. So the T-126 is kind of the brother of the T-50. The best way of looking at it is that it's a thick T-50. You can see here that it is definitely a wide boy, but it is incredibly fun, has access to the 45, and if you have the T-50 you can run it with this thing. It does get the scouting as well and the artillery, and it's just a fast little tank with some fun angled armor. In a down tier it's fantastic, in an up tier you can just, scout people and have a bit of fun with it, so definitely worth a bit of a looking in. Also, the SMK is worth having a look at. It's got a really good lineup around it as well of T-34s and KV-2s. So this vehicle here has obviously the double turret. It has a lot more armor than you may think it has, just because it has some wonky areas which are around the place. Then it also has the 76L11 and the 45, so you can have a bit of fun with that one. And it has a 7-man crew, so as long as your ammo doesn't get popped, it can be super strong. It's just really fun to run around in this thing and just smash face, have a bit of fun with it. It's got good RP rewards on it, which is really nice. And as I said, the lineup around it, KV-2, T-34-42, T-34-41, KV-1L11, it's just a really, really nice lineup. So definitely worth having a look at. It's also the same BR as the ITP-M1, so you can throw that in there as well and have a bit of fun. When it comes to the aviation side of things, it's kind of a similar story. A lot of the really good vehicles are pack vehicles, but there is one which stands out above the rest, the Su-11 of course. The Su-11 is just a better version of the Su-9 at the same BR. It's got the A-Lulka TR1s. This thing is just a superior 262. It feels really nice to play, and also at the same time it can get 2 individual bomb drops in 2 250s. So if you want to use it in ground forces, you can. I actually recently used the Su-9 to get my 4 kills task done in Soviet vehicles. So that went really well. It was a fantastic vehicle to use. The 37 and 23s, as long as you get the hang of them, are incredibly good, and this thing has really good rewards on it, so getting into this part of the tech tree and above is really, really nice. It can also efficiently research everything apart from this, so it's very, very useful in that regard. The Act 3 VK107 is also pretty good to get you through rank 4, which I've always struggled with when it comes to the Soviets, but generally, it's not required. The Su-11 is a better pick. Overall, when it comes to the fleet stuff, there's not too much I would have a look at for the blue water stuff. Maybe the Zeleniakov. The Smelly is incredibly cheap right now, but it's also at 4.7. It does have some help at 4.7, but the Soviet ones have always felt over-tiered for me when it comes to their destroyers, and the Smelly is kind of similar to that. It doesn't have the best firepower around, but if it hits like a truck. Also has a lot of really good AA on it, but I suppose if you're looking for something, that would be the pickup, but I wouldn't look at it too much. The coastal stuff though, you have the MBK PR-186. This thing is incredibly slow, but also at the same time has 2 85s on it, which can do a ton of damage. It also has 2 sets of dual 12-7s and a 37, and the main thing is it actually has armor. So if you go up against stuff like PT boats or anything of a lower caliber, they're not going to be able to kill you. And this makes this thing supremely fun to play, just like the tech tree ones, because you can just sit there and just keep shooting while they can't kill you. It's an incredibly frustrating vehicle to fight, just like a lot of the Soviet armored boats, and it works incredibly well because of that. Definitely worth having a look at. For the British, there's a few planes and also vehicles in general which are pretty good pickups. The Centurion Action X is definitely worth a look. This thing is at 7.3 right now and has a really banger lineup around it. So the Centurion Mark III, the Carnarvon, you can also bring stuff like the Attacker as cast support with its 2 1000s, and if you have the Centurion Mark V, which of course is the Battle Pass vehicle, then you just have a really, really good lineup that you can run here. There's a reason why this lineup kept going up in BR. It's because it stabilizes plus APDS plus mobility is a very, very good combo, and it still works very well to this day at these BRs. So definitely worth having a look at, definitely worth sorting that out. When it comes to aviation, the Corsair is incredibly good. The Venture also is just a standard Mark IIA, but I think it comes in the beginner's pack, which is worth having a look at. Also, any of the vehicles which can act as CAS as well, so stuff like the Hellcat Mark II, definitely worth looking at. And obviously the Harrier. I don't think the Harrier is in the best place right now. I know it has SRAMs, and I know SRAMs are really good, but there is a lot of stuff which has been added to 10.0.10.3 recently, which is incredibly strong, meaning that the Harrier is a little bit tougher to play, so I would be careful on that pickup. The Sea Vixen, though, I think is a really cool vehicle. You know, it's a vehicle which is quite fast and at a pretty nice platform to be able to launch missiles from. Also, if you play it correctly, like basically coming top down and people not noticing where you are, you can do really, really well with it. So it's a unique playstyle and pretty fun. Definitely worth having a look at. And also, whatever Spitfire is, whichever one of the Griffin Spits of these is a GE vehicle, definitely worth having a look at. Always good vehicles, these ones, and a lot of fun as well. Blue order-wise, the Jervis, I think, is probably the pick. It's super cheap, and at rank 2, it has a fantastic lineup around it. It also has really good SL rewards on it. That's one thing about naval premiums, insane SL rewards. So definitely worth for that. If you want to make SL, just play naval, like it's as simple as that. But with the Jervis, you have the Kelvin, the Nepal, and the Tobruk. This is a J class, which is the same as the... Well, I thought it was the same as one of them. I'm guessing it isn't. But you've got all of these different ones at 4.7, so you can just throw in the Jervis with them and have a good time. This thing has a ton of guns on it. It's kind of the best of both worlds when it comes to these machines. So it has the 3 sets of dual 4.7s, and you can angle the boat slightly like this and be able to get them all on target. And you also have a bunch of 20s and quad 40s on board, so it's definitely worth having a look at this one. I think it will be a fantastic vehicle, and if you haven't either ground out this lineup or you haven't used it yet, it's a baller lineup. You also have the Mohawk as well from the event, if you ever pick that up. When it comes to the coastal stuff, I don't really think there's any great picks here. You know, you've got obviously the Orla if you want, but I really don't think any of these are worthy, really. The MGB 75 doesn't really have the firepower or survivability. The MTB is the same thing. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about any of these. For Japan, when it comes to their army stuff, I think the Hurry prototype's a pretty nice pick. It does have a lineup around it. Obviously, the STA-3, the Type 61, the Type 60. This is not a good lineup when it's stock, but once you get it spaded, it's really fun. And this one slots into it pretty well. You can also get this vehicle to research through this and also get into rank 5, where they do have some really stellar lineups nowadays. So definitely worth having a look at when it comes to this stuff. And the Hurry prototype itself has a very fun gun, a lot of penetration, has decent mobility, not great armor, but overall is just a fantastic vehicle. It's also cheap compared to the standard Hurry production in the tech tree, and also has good rewards. So I think it's a definite pickup. The Chinu 2 is fantastic, even though it's up yard, they lowered its reload. Still works really well in the 4.7 lineup. This is my event lineup that you can see here that I bring. It's a really good vehicle, works insanely well, and definitely worth the pickup. Then when it comes to aviation, I think the pick is the A7M1 9K9H. This thing at rank 3 is fantastic. It's one of those blend vehicles, I suppose you'd call them. It's a Zero, which also is a very good energy fighter and climber. So it has a really good set of guns, 220s. They are Type 99s, but you still do enough damage, and you've got enough rounds to do enough damage. And it's really good at turning, and really good at just keeping up its energy. So definitely worth picking up, definitely worth having a bit of fun with it. And generally, I would say with the vehicle, it's worth going. Did they make everything unclickable again? That is very sad. But yes, I would definitely say it's worth it. It also gets some 60s, so you can use them in ground forces if you want, but not going to be that useful. When it comes to blue water stuff, there isn't really a great pick here. I suppose the Makuma, if you want to use that. and get to high tiers. You've also got the Ubari, but the Ubari is not a great vehicle, if I'm honest with you. It doesn't have a lot of main armament, so I'd say the best thing to do with these vehicles is actually just to research them, like go through the tech tree and play them, and go from there. The coastal stuff though, PGO2, there you go, easy peasy. This machine, if you catch people off guard, will just annihilate people with the gun. One thing to note is uninstall this modification here, so you can actually get its higher fire rates on its 20mm, and yeah, it's super fast. The 20mm is really good if you see the engagement first. If not, you're going to die very quickly. It's a high risk, high reward vehicle, which is always very fun. I'd just like to thank Professor X 1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, BRFC 15, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe A, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, and then Kyle Kin, Barine, Lafouche, and also Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.